This is just one of those things that comes with the running of a larger scale shop. I had to fire a customer at a level that I never thought that I would ever have to. He raised his voice to me. He raised his voice to my team. I had an elderly gentleman literally tell me to go fuck myself in my own shop. The Talkin Paint Podcast is brought to you by Detailing Growth. That's detailinggrowth.com. Detailing Growth is the industry's only US-based full-stack agency that provides you with full custom web design, ongoing SEO, local SEO via Google Business Profile, ad management for Google and Meta, and an entire business suite of automations with our Grit Suite CRM. Detailing Growth also helps businesses with consulting and business coaching and system implementation. Head over to detailinggrowth.com and sign up for a free strategy session. Hey everybody, it's Gabe from Detailing Growth and Detailer OS. Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of Talkin Paint. So today it's just me, and I wanted to talk about something that happened to me last week. I had to fire a customer in maybe one of the worst ways. Looking back on it, there was definitely ways that I could have done better, but today I want to take some time and walk you through and show you how it happened, what we should have done, and why this broke down the way that it did. This is just one of those things that comes with the running of a larger scale shop. And I'm also going to give you the most important resource that you're going to have in your whole business that's going to prevent this from ever happening to you. And that's going to be completely free. All you have to do is listen. I had to fire a customer at a level that I never thought that I would ever have to. I had an elderly gentleman literally tell me to go fuck myself in my own shop. Yeah. That's right. He told me to go fuck myself. So I'm going to break down exactly what happened and the lessons that I learned so that you can avoid them in your own business. And I'm going to give you the systems that can help you in your business, no matter where you are in your current growth track. So I have about 5 guys that work in my shop at any given time between the different services that we offer. One of them is my GM named Will, who is right around 50. He's a no BS kind of Asian American guy, just your normal everyday guy, but he's definitely, he does a great job of delivering experience for our clients at our shop. And he runs the day-to-day. Will is exceptional. He's detailed, he's organized, and he thinks in time blocks. He's everything you could ask for in a GM, literally everything. Sometimes Will gets overwhelmed, just like every GM does, because everybody is human. No GM is perfect. And I want to talk about this for a minute because as shop owners, we put a lot of pressure on our GMs and sometimes we don't realize it. If you're doing $20K a month, you can handle most customer interactions yourself. When you're pushing that $75 to $100K mark, your GM becomes the face of the business for about 80% of your customers. And that's a really massive responsibility. Will handles anywhere from 15 to 20 customer interactions a day between phone calls, text, email, and in person. Each one requires him to assess that person, set expectations, handle objections, and maintain our reputation at the same time. That's a huge cognitive load for somebody, meaning that takes a lot of brain power. And throughout the day, by the time Will gets to customer 15, even some of the best GMs can, start to falter and get a little bit of a blurred line. This particular situation where I had this client get upset was because we didn't take the time to set expectations correctly. Now, our standard approach involves laying out potential negatives first, because basic trust psychology shows that addressing concerns up front makes it easier to build a better client relationship. And we learned this through years of trial and error, and I'll explain how we structure these conversations. So when a customer walks through your door for a PPF or ceramic coating or other high-end service, they're usually coming in with unrealistic expectations because nobody has set them yet. They've seen nothing but perfect photos online. They've watched YouTube videos with YouTube detailers with perfect lighting, and they think that their 2019 BMW is going to look like it just rolled off the showroom floor. after they've been running it through the Scratchy-Matic 5000, 30 times a month. So your job, or your GM's job, is to recalibrate those expectations without losing the sale. Now, we use a framework to kind of approach this in a holistic manner. And we always make sure that in the back of our mind, we're checking these off. So the first is compliment on the vehicle, because that lets them know that we're in tune with what the vehicle's current condition is. So if it's not brand new, we'll immediately say something like, it's in great shape for its age, insert but statement. And then, we'll make sure we level them with reality. If they're asking about PPF, and, we'll immediately lay out like, look, we strive for a perfect installation. But truthfully, it doesn't matter whether you have us or any other shop, regardless of what anybody claims, there will always be some type of dust or dirt or imperfection in the install. And, then insert, paint protection, not paint perfection, within reason. That's not an excuse to ship shitty work. Please don't do that. We just need to set a realistic expectation with them that this is not a clean room lab environment. And the only way that you're going to get that is with a positive pressure paint booth system. And I only know of one shop that's ever had that. And most of the time, they don't even have it closed to do this work. We state our commitment, which is we're going to do everything we can to minimize those imperfections and things that may not be perfect, but I just want you to understand what's realistic. So, and these are just broad strokes. These are just the things that we make sure that we cover. And we always make sure that, again, we circle back on that statement. If you're looking for absolute perfection, no shop is going to be able to deliver that for you unless you're willing to jump into concourse detail type stuff. But if you want the best protection with minimal imperfections, we can absolutely deliver for you, right? So I've kind of balanced the scale with that, right? So and as long as I know that I've checked those boxes, compliment, reality check, commitment, close on expectations, then I know that I'm typically not going to have a problem. With this client, we didn't execute this properly. It just didn't happen, and it absolutely set the stage for what happened. And when you skip doing this, you essentially write a check your shop can't cash. And yes, I know that was a really horrible play on cliche statements, but it's honestly the truth. Back in 2020, I digitized our terms of service agreement. I was one of the first people to talk about this on a wide scale before others. And believe it or not, somebody copied this idea and started offering it as a service. But, that's another story. I want to walk you through that entire system and how that reduced our customer conflicts by 95%. So we have this document, and it's our terms of service. And if you're looking at the video, you can now see it on screen. It's scrolling. It's massive, right? So nobody ever reads all this text, and I'm going to show you how we make it effective. The terms of service covers scope of work, limitations, environmental factors, industry standards, payment terms, cancellation policies, dispute resolution procedures, photo and video rights, liability, weather-related type things, and everything in between, from manufacturer all the way down to workmanship. And we send this digital agreement to every single client before they walk through our door. And we keep it casual, and we just make it a part of our process. We say, yep, you take care of your deposit, you sign your terms of service, then you're all set. And we just broad stroke over it, and we just make it a part of the process because everybody's got paperwork to sign as a part of a deal. Nobody's really had anything negative to say about it. I think I've had in 5 years, maybe 2 people refuse to sign it. One person was just like, I don't want to sign any of this. It's just, terms of service, this, that, and the other. And I was just like, hey, sir, that's totally fine. Totally understand it. We're not for you. That's okay. And I wasn't upset about it. The other person had an issue with some of the wording, and ultimately I needed to clarify it and do a better job in writing, so I did that. And since then, we've had no problems. The biggest problem now is, of course, making sure that the client executes and signs it, and then we check that they have. So We use Your Able, and Your Able comes with a 24-hour appointment reminder text, and I'll put it down in the notes as well, what we use. It uses their standard tagging, and you can just copy paste it if you want. But basically, it's, reminder, you have an appointment at so-and-so shop at this time on this date, and then it says complete terms of service prior to arrival, required, no terms, no job start. Like, that's pretty clear, cut and dry. We do everything we can to enforce this, because if somebody shows up without signing, the typical go-to is we check and we say, hey, look, we can't touch the vehicle until this is complete. They either take 2 minutes on their phone or they do it as soon as they get home, because most of the time the car's not ready to move into the wash bay anyway. And if you want access to this, you can get this on Chip One. That's CHIPONE.ai. This is a completely free service as a part of the free base tier level. You can implement this in your business, and we have it templatized. It's completely free. It costs you nothing. And all you need to do is just configure your profile for your business, and then just send the link to your customer and make it a part of your process. And all of that is on chipone.ai, and it's completely free. It's the first time that I've offered this to the entire industry. It is the same terms of service agreement that our shop uses, and we have it templatized. All you need to do is duplicate it, and you get to have it for free. There's no charge for it. The free tier will never go away. I think it has like 20 submissions a month or so. You can just copy our entire form. There's other paid tiers as a part of Chip One that have, voice coach and the content studio, that'll help you write copy, and so on and so on. So that's completely free, and you can take advantage of that now. The link will be in the show notes and in the video description. So this is what went wrong with this particular client. This gentleman was somebody who just didn't want to accept the truth, no matter how much proof you provided, and that's because we didn't set the stage for him. He wasn't happy with the PPF that we installed on his vehicle. He took it to other shops, and what happened next is other shop owners look for reasons to dog you. Granted, I'm pretty friendly with most of the shop owners around here, and they didn't have much bad to say, but this person, from what I was told from the place that he took it to, they all told him he had a pretty solid job. But he just wasn't willing to accept it. So the owner told me he had expectations that would have really required a pharmaceutical clean room and not a detail shop, which we don't have. And the owner told me several times he's retired and has nothing better to do with his time other than to just wipe this vehicle down in his garage. And that was honestly a huge red flag. And I just ignored it. And it was just, I regret that, of course. And I should have taken action on it. So when someone tells you their full-time job is obsessing over their vehicle, you're probably going to enter a world of pain. And I ignored that warning sign, and that was my first mistake. We reinstalled almost the entire thing, and it was like $2,600 worth of film, and we started from scratch. New film, new prep, extra time, the whole thing. And I took the time to explain to this person that paint protection film will never be perfect, regardless of the shop. And the hood was primarily the biggest issue. It was a massive hood. It was huge. I think we had one work mark in the film the second time around. So it was a big improvement, but it was a really dark colored hood, and it had valleys, and there was a big stretch involved, and it just didn't go well. The first go around, we had some dust spots, particularly like 3 particles in the hood section, and then another 2 in a front fender. Like I said before, we had the stretch marks, or work marks, and I should have asked our installer to address those better. And honestly, he might not have been able to improve them much more. And the imperfections weren't severe. It was nothing that would have prevented the job from shipping out of the shop. For context, industry standards kind of 2 to 3 minor imperfections per panel, depending on who you talk to. And we were well within that range, but explaining industry standards to an upset customer is like explaining physics to somebody who has decided that gravity just doesn't fucking exist. So, all my efforts were out the window. The problem comes up and magnifies when you need to explain why something happened to someone who clearly thinks you should be performing better or that it should be different. And at that point, you've already lost the conversation. I was on defense instead of being proactive. My GM would have been the person to do all of this, But it was just one of those times where it was really, really busy and we didn't execute and we paid the price. And I failed as a business owner here. We spoke to this elderly customer on 3 separate occasions. And what I couldn't tolerate was how he spoke to us. This is kind of how it went. Day 1, customer picks up the vehicle. Everything's normal. We gave him the same aftercare instructions we give to everybody. He comes back an hour later, almost spitting to the point of picking everything out, and he threatens to stop payment on this check. And I didn't know that he was paying by check, and truthfully, I should have stood on that too. That was red flag number 1, because when somebody leads with financial threats before they can understand a situation, you're dealing with a problem customer every single time. He raised his voice 3 times, and the second time we redid it and he was still not happy when he came and picked it up. Ultimately, I cashed the check and I gave him a warning. I said, this does not cover buyer's remorse. We are going to cash this check. And if you put a stop payment on this, we will immediately seek restitution on the job and the work that we've done. And that's ultimately what this person had, is he had buyer's remorse. He raised his voice to me. He raised his voice to my team. And ultimately, the last time I met with him, he said, why don't you come and look at the car and show me on the car if you call this professional work? Before I didn't even go to the car, before I immediately shut him down. I said, sir, I don't need to look at the car. At this point, I'd rather just take the film off and give you your money back. And that's when he started raising his voice and we get to exchanging words. And then, that's when he told me to, quote, suck his balls. End quote. And that's when I motherfuckered him and told him to get out of here before I trespassed him. Because at the end of the day, I won't let anybody talk to me or my team like that, no matter if we're wrong or not, because I'll be wrong and I will be a shit business and I will be all those horrible things. But the second you step away from being professional and being cordial, that's when all bets are off, in my opinion, because I will bend over backwards for people to make sure that we take care of them. And this guy just wasn't willing to hear that. And at the end of the day, he was just not a good fit for paint protection film. And he ultimately got what he deserved. It was even after the second installation, he said to me, already in an agitated state, the first words out of his mouth were, you people just don't get it, do you? I just regret thinking about it. I regret the whole thing. But I understand the customer was frustrated. And I could have always done better and probably could have handled the situation better. But I don't allow anybody to speak to me that way or my team, because your teammates and your installers, they're not punching bags. Those are professionals who deserve respect. He was an elderly gentleman, probably about mid-60s. One of the people who thinks that the world is probably trying to always take advantage of him. I get that, because if you've ever seen the movie Shawshank Redemption, when the older gentleman, the character Brooks, gets out, I think he said the world went and got itself in a big hurry, meaning the world grows without you and can leave you behind. And for elderly citizens, I can understand what that's like. And that's the kind of the vibe that I got from him and his demeanor. Or he could have just been a grouchy, grumpy asshole. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But I'm just not willing to sacrifice my team's well-being on a $3,000 job or a $10,000 job or any amount of money. So what I did next is I sent a text message to all the local detailing business owners that I'm friends with, warning them about the client, including to the shop that was probably likely next where he was going to have this film removed. Ultimately, everybody responded, thanks for the heads up. And, I get similar messages from them during the year when this happens. And it's always a big help, because I never, ever, ever talk down about anybody else's business, ever, because I want to keep those communication pipelines open. Even if we trade customers, right? It's never, ever at a detriment to that shop's reputation or their quality of work. The lesson learned here is build better checks and balances to make sure that you execute every time. We didn't perform that well enough on this job. And I constantly reinforce my team that I'll eat the cost of jobs to ensure that we deliver an exceptional experience. We missed the mark on this and we should have done better. So this is kind of how we handle it moving ahead. There's a 3-touch expectation system that we're now going to manage. In addition to the framework that I mentioned earlier, the 3-touch system is, during the initial consult, we mention imperfections, digital terms of service. We have all of the additional expectation management. And then during drop off, we do a walk around setting specific expectations. And with every single job that comes in, we document 3 sets of photos. We do as it lies, meaning wherever the customer dropped it off, we take pictures all around the vehicle of exactly where they left it. Pre-wash, when we move it into the wash bay, we take pictures all the way around. And then we take post-wash pictures, because sometimes you don't see everything until you get a car clean. The other thing is I put together an escalation framework to make sure that this has a defined path to go moving ahead. First is going to be the foreman or the CSR, customer service rep, handles minor concerns on client arrival or communication. Next step is GM steps in for quality disputes. Next step would be me, being the owner, handles the situation only if the customer becomes abusive or can't be qualmed otherwise. And then level 4 is just termination of service and refund procedures. The other thing that we're putting in place is team protection policy. No employee has to tolerate verbal abuse. Any threatening behavior results in immediate service termination. All interactions in volatile situations must be witnessed by another team member, and we support our team's decision to walk away from abusive situations. So in addition to that, let's talk about the most important part of this, and that is the financial responsibility of firing customers, because the customer represented about $2,700 worth of revenue. Materials and labor, it's about $1,500 with margin, because we have a 1099 installer. By firing him, I lost $2,000, except I didn't, because I spent time on complaints, callbacks, installer stress, leading to reduced productivity, potential negative reviews and reputation management, team morale impacting other jobs, and my personal time and mental energy. So when you factor in all the hidden costs of a problem customer, that margin probably gets closer to about $5,000 every time. So hopefully this was helpful for you and you found this useful, and you can take this and put it into play inside your business or inside your shop. So just remember that running a successful detailing business isn't always about just perfect installs and happy customers, right? Sometimes that means protecting our team, maintaining standards, and having courage to tell people no. Every time you accept abuse from a customer, you're telling your team that their well-being doesn't matter. And every time you redo work for somebody who's unreasonable, you set a precedent that perfection is possible even when it's not. And every time you discount a service for a difficult person, you're devaluing the expertise that you bring to the market. Your shop's culture starts with how you handle the worst situations, not the best ones. When your team sees you stand up for them, they'll go through walls for your business. When they see you enforce standards, they'll maintain those standards even when you're not around. So remember that firing a customer should be rare, but when someone crosses that line from frustrated to abusive, you make the right move when you put your long-term business assets first and you don't put up with that. So as for the guy that told me to go fuck myself, he taught me where we had gaps in our system and where we could do better and how we could do better, and sometimes making tough decisions that cost us money in the short term build a stronger business for the future. If you're interested in working with detailing growth to grow your business in a more sustainable and systemized approach, working with some of the industry's top talent as a growth agency, please visit us at workwith.detailinggrowth.com. If you're interested in one-on-one training and systems implementation and business growth, I encourage you to look into Detailers OS, reach out to me personally, find me on Facebook, send us a message on our website, check the link in the description, and set up a call to chat with me, and we'll see how we can work together to be really, really intentional about growing your business. Thanks for listening.